What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikiPikaPapa, and listen, today we are doing things a little different. First off, it's a Tuesday video. I've never done a Tuesday video. And second off, if you've been following my channel at all, if you've seen anything that we've done, we are a very data-first channel. And by that, I mean, like, we use previous prices for booster box and booster packs. We use Excel spreadsheets. We use business BI tools. We use all kinds of things in order to make sure that when you and I spend our hard-earned money on Pokemon stuff, we are spending it after doing a lot of due diligence, so we feel really good with the decisions that we've made. In this video, we're just having a conversation. This is going to be a fireside chat with PikiPikaPapa, and we're going to have those from time to time. But I think this is a really interesting point in the Pokemon hobby. I think we have this perfect storm of different things that are going on at the end of Sword and Shield and at the beginning of Scarlet and Violet. And I've been listening to a lot of other Pokemon, people on YouTube, and I've been hearing a whole lot of stuff. And there's a lot of, I won't say confusion, but there's a lot of uncertainty, and I wanted to chime in a little bit. And you guys know, if you've seen, my mission statement for this channel, it's to be different with a purpose. So I didn't want to chime in and just be different for the sake of being different. But I do think that I have a unique view on this, and it certainly doesn't mean it's right. But I think there might be something there, so it's certainly worth talking about. If you're new to this channel, and if what I was talking about earlier, like all the data dives that we do, like if that excites you, if it's something like you'd like to be a part of, check out some of our earlier videos. If you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. We're building this great community, and we would really love for you to be a part of it. And we're also having a ton of fun, because at the end of the day, this is a fun hobby. So it's all about having fun. It's all about making informed decisions. And we're just building this really cool community. So with that out of the way, hey, so here's why I want to talk about this. In Pokemon, I feel like we can use data to make decisions, because you don't have to worry about Charizard going out and blowing an ACL. You don't have to worry about Pikachu going to the club and getting arrested. Like, Bulbasaur is not going to get benched, and Squirtle's not going to get traded to a losing team. Like, these are all things you have to worry about in the sports card space, which I've been heavily involved in for the last 20 years. For the last 8 months, I've been really involved in the Pokemon space. And I have found that there are more data trends that we can follow, because there's more consistency in this space. What isn't consistent, though, and the one thing that can throw a wrench in our gears, is reprints. And that has been a hot topic for the last 8 months, almost nonstop. It has been, will they, won't they, when will they? I heard at the end of the year it was going to happen. Now I'm hearing January. Then I hear, well, February, March. And then I hear, well, it might not happen at all. And there's just a lot of swirl out there. And I wanted to take a second and just kind of share my point of view and my experience from being in a collecting hobby for 20 years, for collecting a ton of cardboard for a long time. And, just share my views with everybody out there, because I thought it was really important to do that. Let me first say this. I don't know anything. And you have to understand that none of the other Pokemon influencers out there, which I don't consider myself one of, but none of the other Pokemon influencers out there, they don't know anything either. Like, the only people who know what's going on are the heads of the Pokemon company. And unless they launch a video or give an official statement saying this is what's going to happen in reprints, none of us know for sure. It's all going to be guesses. It's all going to be speculation. So just know that right off the bat. So whatever I say or anybody else says, you have to do your own due diligence, and you have to make your own decisions, okay? The other thing that I want to say is, I was talking about all of this different stuff that's going on right now, and I think we might never see a situation like this in the Pokemon hobby again. Now, are we going to see sets end and sets begin? Absolutely. Are we going to see MSRP prices increases? Absolutely. Like, that's going to happen again further down the road. But what I think we're forgetting is that they're also changing the borders from yellow to silver, and I feel like that gets trivialized a lot. And one of my main points in this video is that is a big, big undertaking. And when I give you my projections, or when I tell you, what Ryan thinks has been going on in the background at the end of the video, that is one of the main things that I'm going to add in there. Another thing that I wanted to bring up is FOMO. Now, ever since the pandemic, everybody was going crazy. They were buying Pokemon products. They were doing it in the sports card space too. They were paying obscene prices. Everybody had to get in when there was no supply and the demand was huge. I get it. If you were a part of that, don't feel bad. You should not feel bad about falling into that, I won't call it a trap, but falling into the excitement, the frothiness of buying Pokemon cards during that period of time. I don't want you to feel bad for a second. Even if you've lost a ton of money, just realize that you don't lose that money until you sell. Then you lock in the losses, so you can either sell and invest in new stuff now, thinking you'll get better returns, so that's called the sunk cost theory, or you can hold on to it hoping that it eventually gets back up to where it was before. But the number one thing I don't want you to do is feel bad about it. Got it? Don't feel bad. But when we talk about FOMO, I feel like FOMO has continued to be this buzzword long past the pandemic is over. And by that I mean everybody's saying, oh, don't buy this because it's FOMO. I'm gonna use Evolving Skies as an example here because that was really the set that kind of got this all swirled up in my head and I've really been thinking about over the last few days. And Evolving Skies is at $300 plus a booster box right now. And a lot of people I've heard are saying, don't buy it now because don't FOMO because they're gonna be reprints and the price is gonna drop. And here's what I wanna say about all that. You have to make the best decision that you can at this point in time with your hard-earned cash. And if you think Evolving Skies is going to be worth $600, $700, $800 further down the road, $300 is probably a great price point to get in at because you don't know what's going to happen with the reprints. They might happen, they might not. You can keep it in the back of your mind, but I don't want you to make that the sole decision. And I certainly don't want you not to buy it because you're going to think into yourself, well, I don't want to FOMO. Like, get that out of your mind right now. Now, what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to spend a ton of money on Crown Zenith singles right now because I think that that is a little bit of a FOMO. But I do think that if you do that for the Evolving Skies and you do it for the right reasons, then there's nothing wrong with spending $300 on a box. There's this mentality and there's this thought process here in the Pokemon space where if you don't buy at MSRP or below, then you've overspent and you're FOMOing in order to buy the product. And nothing could be further from the truth. Listen, we all would have loved to have bought Apple at its IPO. We all would have loved to have bought Tesla 15 years ago. And, I would have loved to have bought Bitcoin back when it was a nickel per coin, right? But we can't go back. And that doesn't mean that those investment vehicles now still aren't viable, right? You can't. Hindsight's always 20/20. You can't live in the past, you have to live in the present. So don't ever be afraid to overpay or to pay a fair market value because that's what the fair market value is for Evolving Skies right now. Don't be afraid to pay fair market value for something if you think it's going to continue to grow in value over time, or else you're going to miss out on a lot of really cool investment opportunities, right? There are people, before the pandemic, we were on like an 18-year bull run in the stock market. There were people who were on the sidelines for probably 10, 12 of those years, kept thinking, hey, it can't continue to go like this. It can't continue to go up and to the right. And guess what? It did. And they missed out on tons and tons and tons and tons of returns because they just kept thinking, I don't want to buy at the all-time high. You can't have that mentality when you're investing. You can't have that mentality when you're collecting. Buy what you love, buy what you think is great at a fair price, and you will never go wrong. I promise you that much. Okay, now that the FOMO thing is out of the way, I was talking about all of the different changes that we have going on in the Pokemon space right now. Each of them individually is a big shift, but when you put all of them together, it turns into this massive montage of Pokemon change that's going on. And first, we'll start off with the MSRP price increase. Obviously, they're raising the prices because they need to raise the prices. I don't think that they're just arbitrarily raising it because they want to pad their bottom line. I truly believe that shipping costs, printing costs, everything is going up. They've invested, they bought their own printing company, right? They have additional costs. And at the end of the day, they're a business and businesses have to have a strong bottom line. They have board of directors, they have investors. At the end of the day, they got to make more money. And that comes from you and me. And you and me should be okay with the MSRP price increase. We need a strong Pokemon company to continue to grow and to continue to provide us with these awesome cards that we love so much, okay? The other thing I want you to understand is Pokemon always talks about printing to demand. And this isn't a knock on you, this isn't a knock on the Pokemon company, this is strictly talking about things from a business perspective. I want you to understand, Pokemon company wants you to love their product. They want you to love the game, they want you to love everything about Pokemon, but at the end of the day, they want you to love all of that because they want to sell you more products. They don't necessarily care about you and me as individuals, right? They just want you to love what they do so you buy more. So when Evolving Skies is at $300 something a booster box, there isn't people in a boardroom who are sitting here saying, poor Ryan's got to pay $300 for a Evolving Skies booster box. You know what? We should print more because we don't think that's fair. You know what they're saying? They're going, hey guys, we got an opportunity here. Ryan is paying $300 a booster box for Evolving Skies. Turn the printers on and we're going to sell the pants off of this thing, right? That's how those conversations are going. I promise you, it has nothing to do with them feeling sorry for you as a collector. It has nothing to do with them feeling sad that their product isn't available out there. It has them feeling sad that their product's not available to sell to you. Again, not a knock on the Pokemon company, not a knock on any of us. It's just how businesses run nowadays. I'm 40 years old, which I don't think is old. I think that's relatively young, but I've been in this business world for long enough to know that that's how it works, and that's fine. The other thing that we're talking about too is the border change. Now, from yellow to silver might seem like just this simple little switch of a flick, but I promise you, these printing presses are huge, complex pieces of machinery. This isn't switching out an Epson ink cartridge. Again, I want to be clear. I have no experience in the mass printing space. I don't know anything. Maybe it is as simple as changing an ink cartridge. To me, I have been a part of product design, I've been a part of product launches, I've dealt with manufacturers in the past, never printers, but manufacturers when we're trying to get a product to market. Here's what I'll tell you, every change that you make, every little change, every little tweak, if you need a millimeter here, if you need an inch there, if you want to change the packaging here, it's a big deal. They have to change the machinery. They have to test everything down to the nanometer for precision measurements. They've got to weigh everything. They have to quality control everything. Like, it is a huge, huge process when you're talking about mass producing something and you make a change and you care about the quality of your product. So the switch from yellow to silver for us as collectors, we're like, hey, this is really cool, but I have a feeling that the Pokemon company on the back end, this has just been an absolute huge lift for them to make this transition. Now, another thing that I've been hearing is, well, we haven't had any reprints in a long time, so they're printers. They just haven't been sitting there idle, like they've definitely been printing something. And I think that is all very, very true. So now I'm going to get into kind of what I think has been going on. And I'm going to say this probably for the 50th time in this video. None of this is fact. This is all guesses on my part. This is just simply me thinking about it from a business perspective with all of these mountainous changes that are going on when we move from Sword and Shield to Scarlet and Violet. So what do I think has been going on? First off, they announced the Crown Zenith launch, and they've announced it out for like this 4-month continual slow drip of product over the next 4 months. So that is not typical. They don't do that normally. What I think they've done is I think that they have printed all of the Crown Zenith products that they're going to print, or at least the majority of them. I think they've printed a ton of them, and they've announced this launch plan because they know how many they're going to launch, when they're going to launch them, what it's going to look like. They probably have warehouses and warehouses and warehouses full of this stuff, but there is a rollout plan for Crown Zenith because it just so happens to be the very last Sword and Shield set before we go into this transition of Scarlet and Violet with silver borders instead of yellow borders, MSRP increase. Like, I think they are going to be dialed in on Scarlet and Violet when they get there. So when time comes, I don't think they want to be worried about these less valuable other products. They've probably printed some more of these late release Sword and Shield products as well. They probably have some Chilling Reign and some of these later produced sets sitting in a closet somewhere, right? Sitting in a huge warehouse. I think that there are going to be more of these that are introduced into the market over time. I think we know that whenever we do these boxes, we will find Sword and Shield products that are arbitrarily added into, V boxes, V-Star boxes, ultra premium collections. Like, we're going to see them trickle in over the course of the next couple years probably, because heck, we're still seeing some Sun and Moon stuff that's dropping out in tins and in the Arceus V boxes out there. There's Cosmic Eclipse in there, which I am a big fan of Cosmic Eclipse. I actually bought 2 of those boxes today. So anyways, I digress. But so I think that they have been printing some of that, and I think that it is all out there. But I also think, like, when I talk about what's going to go into switching these printers to go from yellow borders to silver borders, I think that they have been spending a lot of time in making that transition. Now, the question is going to be, are they going to leave some printers set up for yellow borders so they can continue to reprint the older, lower price point product? Or are they going to do all of the switch over at one time? Are they just going to say, okay, we're going to bring all the engineering teams in, we're going to make all of the transitions at one time, we're going to QC everything at the same time, and we're going to say, okay, this line in the sand is when we're no longer printing Sword and Shield products. We are done with yellow borders. We're moving to silver borders from here on out. We don't have the ability or the capacity or the manpower or the willingness to spend the money to constantly be switching these printers from silver to yellow and yellow to silver. I think from a business perspective, when you talk about the power of scale, it is more cost effective to switch everything over at once and leave it as is instead of trying to transition back and forth. Because every time you make a transition, every time you make a change in a machine like that, you have to do QC again. You have to make sure that everything's aligned. You have to make sure it prints properly. Because the only thing worse than having a bad quality control is having a bad quality control and then you print 50 million of the same product. And then you have this terrible product that launches out and it can really, really tarnish your brand as a whole, especially when you own the printing process like Pokemon does. So I talk a lot and I talk really fast. What do I think has happened? I think Pokemon probably has a stockpile of Sword and Shield product. I don't know what it is, but I think that they have a big stockpile of it. I think that they have printed a lot of the Crown Zenith products that they intend to print. Actually, I think they printed all the Crown Zenith products that they intend to print. I have been super bullish on Crown Zenith since I started this channel. I've been talking about how I ordered a case of ETBs. I ordered a case of Pokemon Center ETBs. I just ordered another case of Pokemon Center ETBs because they're still available. I think Crown Zenith is going to be short printed. Even though they're going to slow roll it out, I think at the grand scheme of things, like Team Up, right? Team Up wasn't a heavily printed set. I think this isn't going to be a heavily digitally printed set because it's at the very tail end of them going into an MSRP. So I think they have all of those, all the yellow border cards that are going to exist in my mind are already printed. I think that they've been going through the transition of getting the machines switched over from yellow to silver. And now I think that the machines are cranking away printing out Scarlet and Violet, because here's what they don't want. They don't want to roll out a higher MSRP, brand new set, and for product or for demand to be greater than product. So I think that they're going to be locked and loaded, ready to make those extra dollars on this, which they should be. You know, they're also going to be doing a holo in every pack. Like, a lot of things are changing, and I think that they're getting ready for that right now. The time is upon us. The time is running out. I keep hearing February, March, like it's January 24th today where we're shooting this video. There's no time left. So I could be wrong. There could be a massive reprint out there, or they could just have, you know, warehouses and warehouses and warehouses full of Sword and Shield products that they're just getting ready to deliver. I don't know, but I do think from a business perspective, from a company perspective, it would make sense that if they do this big switch from yellow to silver all in one fell swoop, I think it would make a lot of sense if they focus on the higher MSRP items instead of the lower MSRP items, because they've come out and said we're going to honor the lower MSRP prices. Now, you can honor those lower MSRP prices and make less money, or you can switch and stop printing them and start printing the higher MSRP products and make more money. Like, I mean, it kind of makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, then I don't know what does. So we'll see what happens. This has been a ton of fun for me to think about this. I'm sorry I don't have any graphs or Technicolor dream coats of Pokemon awesomeness like I usually do. Drop your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to happen, or let me know what you fear is going to happen. And remember, FOMO works both ways. Don't ever let the fear of anything in life, in collecting, don't let fear keep you from doing something that you believe in. If you believe that Evolving Skies at $300 a booster box is a great price and it's going to be $500, $600, $700 3 or 4 years from now, pull the trigger and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. All right? Hey, I appreciate you guys more than you know. I hope you enjoyed this style of video, and I've got some more data and stuff coming up in the future, but you guys have an epic one, and I appreciate you more than you know. See ya.